And Brandon, let's move on. The next team we're looking at is the Pitt Panthers. And for this preview to start, I got a very unique question to ask you. And I'm actually stealing this question from basically the Athlon Sports preview for the Pittsburgh Panthers. We look over the years, and this team has had major upset victories over teams like Miami, teams like Clemson, teams like Penn State. But here's the question that they asked that I want to ask you to start this preview for Pitt. Here's what it says, and I quote, "But at what point do the Panthers advance past the occasional stunning win and start to develop more consistency across the board?" Is this going to be, is 2018 the year where we finally see that come true, where the Panthers aren't just that, ooh, they're the team that beat Clemson this week by 1 point, and that's a shocker, but are more of a consistent team that they can build on for years and years to come?
I don't think that the question has not been answered yet. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if it's going to be answered this season either. But it's got to be one of those things where you go 5-7 last season, you miss out on a bowl game for the first time since 2007.
Mm-hmm.
That was not good. And in a way, I would almost put Pat Narduzzi on a hot seat because he goes pair of 8-5 seasons, 5-7. Now, how are you going to jump out of the 5-7 rut? You're either going to look pretty good and flip that around. You're 7-5, you're 8-5, or you're 4-8. You go 5-7 again. And I think that that's what is going to be the kind of the deciding factor of where this team is going. And if he flips it around and it's back to 8-5, the Kevin Sumlin effect, I think that you look at that and you go, okay, well, we're back on the right path. We've got another bowl game. And bowl games can do a lot for you. One is they make you money.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a big help, and it makes your conference money. But it also keeps you alive. It keeps you alive, I think, at the head coaching realm, especially after a 5-7 season. If you could come back with another 8-5, I think you'd be looking okay. But what you said, going back to your point and the question that you posed, they have got to start. I think that they would be happier and much more content without having that big, just crazy victory over one of the great teams,
mm-hmm.
and just being consistently good all year. That's what they haven't found yet. They've been okay, they've been up and down, and they win that game, but it doesn't really do anything for them.
And my problem is, and I know Pittsburgh Panther fans are going to say, doesn't matter, we won, you can't take it away from us. And I know I can't. But I look at it and I go, 2015 they finished 8-5, 8-4 in the regular season. The only win on their schedule that I'm like, maybe I flip that. There's two of them. Maybe Louisville and then Virginia Tech. You flip both those games, it's a 6-win team. You flip one of them, it's a 7-win team. The big one, though, for me is 2016, because that was the year they beat Penn State in a shocker earlier in the year by 3 points. They beat Clemson in Death Valley by 1 point. You flip both of those games, you go from an 8-4 team to a 6-6 team. And then last year, it was a step down where they only won 5 games. But let's be honest, they should have only been a 4-win team because they upset Miami late in the year. And I know fans are going to say, doesn't matter, we won that game. You can't take anything away from us. Or like, oh, you're slapping us in the face, especially by saying like, oh, that was a game we should have lost. The fact is, without these upset wins, these wins that weren't expected, 8-5, we're like, oh, this team is uptrending. Were they really uptrending, or did they get lucky in a couple games, which made them seem better than they really were? That's why, for me, 2018 has to be the year where Narduzzi and his team kind of show, hey, you know what? This team is getting better. That 5-7 team is not what you saw. We are a good team. We need to prove it. But one of the things that also is a huge question for me, I usually don't start on this side of the ball first because I'm more of an offensive-minded guy, but this is a team that, like, they're bringing in a first-year coordinator in Randy Bates to take over this defense, and I look at that, and the first thing I think of whenever it's like, oh, this is a first-year coordinator with us is how much of a learning curve are we going to have with this new coordinator, what he brings to the table. Like, the name is blanking me. The old Notre Dame defensive coordinator that we talked about. That you
Van
basically,
Gorder.
yeah, that you dragged through the mud. I mean, it's kind of a situation. It's not exactly like his situation, but like you got a guy with Randy Bates coming in with what is he going to do? Because he was a linebackers coach. Like, he's not even a first-year coordinator just for Pittsburgh. He's a first-year coordinator in general. He's been a linebacking coach at Northwestern, where he was tasked to improve a defense that was ranked 106th nationally and had a pass rush that only managed 23 sacks in the year. What do you think this defense does with a first-year coordinator? It's like that first-year teacher coming out of college, getting that first high school classroom. That's what I'm thinking. Is he going to come in, all right, I'm confident with it, or is he going to be like that first-year teacher that eyes really wide, and those high school students are looking, and once they see the whites of the eyes, they know we got them, and this is going to be an easy class and an easy teacher to mess with.
So, Ricky, you not only have Randy Bates, who's going to be in there as the defensive coordinator, but you've also got two new coordinators, coaches in the secondary, rather. You've got Archie Collins and Corey Sanders. Rob Harley returns, and he's the longest tenured now guy on the defensive side of the football with the linebackers. His fourth year at Pitt. And then Charlie Partridge is in his second year on the defensive line, and he's also going to be having assistant head coach added to his title. So it's going to be very important that these guys get a really good, I think, relationship, that they build a good relationship with these players, that these players feel like, okay, we can buy into this system, because under Pat Narduzzi, no one's ever said, man, he's been really good at defense. No one has said that. His teams have not been good at defense. You can go and look at Pitt the last couple of seasons that he's been there. They've been awful. It's now buying into a system. I mean, I want to kind of relate it a little bit to Texas, and it's, okay, Tom Herman said, in year one, we're just trying to kind of get fundamentals. He said here in year two, we're having them buy in. And maybe that's what has to happen here at Pitt. They have to buy in defensively. They have to buy in and truly believe in the scheme that they're working with the guys who are teaching it to them and working with them. And if they can buy in and they can trust those guys and they feel like there's a good rapport there, then I think that we could see improvements made. Not a huge jump. I'm not saying huge jump in year one with the changes, with the multiple changes that have come on the defensive side of the football in terms of the coaching. But I think that we could definitely see some positive improvements and some steps in the right direction.
Here's the thing. With this defense, there are some names on this defense. You look at guys like Dwayne Hendricks, who they're hoping could be a game changer at defensive end. One thing that worries me is, like, you look at the preview for them on Athlon Sports, and it says the anchor is senior nose tackle Shane Roy, which you're like, oh, cool, we got that. But then it says, who had a sack and 2 pass breakups while starting all 12 games. And I'm sitting there going, all right, he's a nose tackle. I want a little bit more than just 1 sack. And that's something that Randy Bates is obviously going to have to come in and change. But one of the things you can be excited for on this defense for Pitt is that they've got 2 recruits coming in the secondary, DeMar Hamlin and Paris Ford. you talk about buying in. These are two guys that you can get to buy in from their pre-college reputations because they're both Pittsburgh natives. They're Pittsburgh guys. So those are guys coming in. Hey, we can get them to buy in, and kind of like what we've seen with like Illinois, our state, our team. How many times am I going to bring them up this podcast?
As many as you can.
They're my team, so I'm going to kind of relate everything to them. But one of the big questions is the offense as well. Can this offense do enough this year to win games, or is this going to be a year where it's like the offense isn't that good, the defense under a first-year coordinator isn't as good as what people expect? What are we expecting? What are you expecting, I should say, from the offense for Pitt this year?
Well, they're gonna go with Kenny Pickett, who had 4 games under his belt last year, over 500 yards, a touchdown, and an interception. And the reins are his. The reins are his in his sophomore season.
He beat Miami, so why not? Right?
And well, the funny thing is Ben DiNucci and Thomas McVitie, they left. They left. I mean, they were there, and they're like, no, we're gone.
Yeah.
We're done. We're not going to get the job. And they left. I mean, so, the ball is firmly in the hands of Pickett. The offensive line is going to need, I think, a little bit of an overhaul. You've got 2 starters returning. You've got all ACC tackle Alex Bookster. But there's a lot of spots. There's a lot of gaps to fill. One guy that they're also looking at is a guy who I'd say his name, you wouldn't know him. You wouldn't think anything of him. Aaron Matthews, 6'4", 205 pounds. Now, this guy is someone that they've been waiting for. Fans have been waiting for him to arrive for a while. With his skills, with his build, with his intangibles, this guy has not done anything, really, while he's been there. He has no touchdowns. He's played in a number of games, but really, I think the most catches he's had in a season is 18. They're waiting for this guy to break out and become the player that they believed that he was going to be. So if he can become something, I think that will be interesting to see what happens there and to see if they can develop a really good big target for Pickett, and that'll be something helpful for him as well. A guy who's still pretty young and pretty green.
And like for me this year, I'm doing it again. I'm going straight to the schedule, and for me, I kind of feel like this is a team. I know in some of the previews, like Virginia, I believe North Carolina and Duke. Oh, these could be toss-up games with Pitt. I see on the schedule the bottom line for this team. Well, the bottom line is 1 win. Do I think they only win 1 game? No.
Ouch.
I don't think they Kansas Jayhawk it. However, my bottom line, I'll say, is similar to North Carolina and Duke. It's 3. Albany, North Carolina, and Duke. Haha, no joke. Those are yet again the 3. The last preview, I was like, oh, these are the bottom 3, and it was North Carolina and Duke again. The question is, can this team beat a team like Virginia? Can this team beat a team like Syracuse? Right now, I look at it, unless this team is getting some upset wins against Penn State, against Miami again, against Virginia Tech, either against Notre Dame or Syracuse, the only games on this schedule that I could see being wins are those 3. And the window that I have for this team, 3 wins on the low end, 5 wins on the high end, which if you're at 5 wins, you're like, great, we're the same as last year. Like, what has changed? And then we get to the question that you posed at the beginning is if they go 5 wins again, then next season, just like I mentioned for North Carolina, next year's preview becomes, all right, when do we fire Pat Narduzzi? Like, that's going to be the question if they only win 5 or less games again this season.
Yeah, I look at this schedule, and it's a tough one to try and look for wins. But
I like these ACC teams going, hey, we're going to play the real national champions. We're not going to play Alabama. We're going to go and play Central Florida. They got them on the road September 29th. That's going to be a tough one, even for a team like Pitt.
So Albany is
just going to blow right past it. It's okay.
Yes.
I do it to get under your skin, Brandon. You know why.
You're not under my skin, Ricky, because they can go ahead and hang all the banners they want and give themselves their own trophies, but they won nothing.
Hey, man, even Scott Frost said, yeah, we weren't the national champions. Alabama was.
Well, Ricky's going to have to take it up with his former athletic director because...
Dr. Danny White.
Because that guy, he just couldn't get over it. He just couldn't realize that you can lose 0 games, but you still might not be the national champion. Anyways, so Albany is a win. North Carolina is a win.
Mm-hmm.
Syracuse, maybe. Virginia, I'm going to
go with Virginia.
Put them as a win.
Oh, really? I would go with Virginia.
So, yeah, it's a struggle to find wins right now for Pitt. I don't feel good about them.
No.
I don't feel good about them. I don't. I think that they've got a lot of inexperience. I think that there's a lot of question marks. And this is not a team that I think is going to be strong here in the Coastal. Just be honest about it.
No, I'm seriously debating Virginia making the jump in the standings, and at the end of the year, we are looking at Duke, North Carolina, and Pitt being the bottom feeders, with Duke being the higher ranked out of both these, and it's really North Carolina and Pitt being the bottom 2 in the Coastal.
Well, Ricky, I'll be honest with you. Virginia may not even have to make a jump. They may not even have to win any more games. They could be 6 and 7,
Pitt will just lose more.
And I still think that we'd see Pitt, beneath them. So it's they've got themselves I think a tough schedule, and it's not tough in terms of they've got Clemson and they've got Miami and they've got Virginia Tech all in a row or anything like that. No, but Penn State, no, they don't have Saquon Barkley, but they still have a darn good quarterback over there. Georgia Tech, I think Georgia Tech is going to be better than them. University of Central Florida, while they're not going to be winning any national championships anytime soon, they're a good team. Syracuse is a team that I think that they're going to be better this year and could, win the game there. Notre Dame's going to beat them. Duke, I think, is going to beat them. Virginia, toss-up. Virginia Tech will beat them. Wake Forest, I think, should beat them, and Miami should beat them. I don't see Pitt being that strong.
Yeah, this is a team, like I said, your window is 3 to 5 wins, and I am leaning more towards the 3 wins than the 5 wins. And if you get 3 wins, hell, you could even get lower than 3 wins. I'll say Duke could be a question mark. So your only 4 sure wins are North Carolina and Albany. Duke I'll put as a win, but I wouldn't be surprised if you lost that game. But this is where you guys come in and let us know what you think down below in that comment section. We too hard on Pitt. Is there a light at the end of this Pitt tunnel for 2018 that we are just not seeing? Let us know what you think down below in that comment section.